Most of us, especially if you're a type A person, you are typically on a daily basis on your main quest. You've got a list of to do items that you want to achieve that day, and that is what you're focused on. You're focused on crossing those things off your list and getting to your end goal. But the side quests are the things that just happen. The things that pop up out of nowhere when maybe things don't go as planned and they get a little bit mixed up or you get thrown off onto a different path. Welcome to the Love Your Brain podcast, the podcast designed for everyday people who are ready to hop off the negative thought hamster wheel and enjoy a less hostile environment in their own brains. Our brains are where we live our entire lives, and I'm on a mission to help people see that they have everything they need to make it a happier place to be. So join us for this episode of the Love Your Brain podcast. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Love Your Brain podcast, or welcome if you're new. Today's episode in particular is going to be a really good episode if you're someone who maybe is more of a type A personality, someone who plans everything out. Maybe you've been called controlling a time or two. This episode today is especially for you because this is also me. So I happen to be a slight expert on type A brains because I live in one. But if you're not a type A personality, but maybe you've got a friend that you think this episode would be really helpful for, send it their way. If you aren't a type A person, you definitely know a type A person. So this episode is for everyone. And although we know there are lots of positives to the type A personality, they're super efficient, they can be very thorough with coming up with plans, they can get a lot done quickly. They're those people that like to research all the details, anticipate any problems that could come up, and come up with a plan B in case things don't go right. They're always very prepared. They like to stay on task. They have a goal and they know exactly where they're headed, right? So there's lots of positives to this type of personality, but there are also some negatives. And part of what happens when you're a very efficient person who's very focused on staying on plan is that you often leave out unexpected things. We can't ever really plan for truly unexpected things, and it's in the unexpected that often we find those little pops of joy that jump in out of nowhere, are fulfilling experiences that we never could have anticipated that just stumble perfectly into our way. It leaves out the excitement and those things that can't be planned or researched to achieve. There's so much about life that just happens. It's not anything that we can make happen, it's not anything that we can plan for. It just happens. And so, if you're like me, it's not that you don't want these things in your life, it's just that sometimes they kind of take a backseat to what we think are our best laid plans. We think in our brains that this plan to get to this end goal, all we need to do is do X, Y, and Z. We're going to get there, and that is the focus. So sometimes making progress towards goals and efficiency just appears to be more important to us than those things that just pop up out of nowhere and in some cases test and challenge our own flexibility in a lot of ways. But I have recently found a new way to handle these moments of the unexpected that pop up, and it's really changed how I perceive these experiences. And so hopefully today's episode will maybe give you a new perspective as well. And so today we are going to be talking about side quests. Now, typically side quests, the phrase, is really related a lot of times to people who play video games because in video games you usually have your main quest, right? Like you've got your main part of the game that you're trying to achieve this end goal. But often there's these side quests that you can kind of diverge off of the plan, and it'll give you special little missions, and then it'll maybe give you some special rewards if you achieve those side quests. And it really is just a way to kind of add some spice to the game, build the storyline, and really just make it a lot more fun and unexpected. But this idea also overflows into life in general as well. Most of us, especially if you're a type A person, you are typically on a daily basis on your main quest. You've got a list of to do items that you want to achieve that day, and that is what you're focused on. You're focused on crossing those things off your list and getting to your end goal. But the side quests are the things that just happen, the things that pop up out of nowhere when maybe things don't go as planned and they get a little bit mixed up, or you get thrown off onto a different path because the path you planned just wasn't working out and you got to diverge, right? But you still get those same benefits in real life as you do in video games because when you go off on a side quest, your storyline becomes more interesting as well. It adds spice to life. Unexpected things happen. You cross paths with people that you didn't anticipate. You learn something new. You have an opportunity to grow and just to deepen who you are as a person, become more well rounded. It's when we embrace these interruptions of life on the way to our main destination that allows us to really grow and explore and play around with life in a new, different way. But I haven't always felt that way. I remember when I first moved from the Chicago area to the Kansas City area. Now, yes, they're mostly both cities, but very different in terms of culture. I grew up mostly in the suburbs of Chicago, but even in the suburbs, people are very goal oriented, like everyone is on a mission. They're not really stopping to make conversations with people. They're going to get their stuff done and they don't want anyone in their way. Now, Kansas City, on the other hand, is very different. Now, it is a city, but it's a little bit more southern, a little bit more rural, and people love to connect. They're a lot more chatty. Even if you're just walking by someone, they're definitely going to say hi. They might even just find something to have a conversation with you about. And that completely threw me off when I first moved here. I would allot myself like 20 minutes to run to the store to get everything on my grocery list. My plan was to get in and get out and get home. And each time I would go to the grocery store, I would either end up in a conversation with someone who asked me a question in the aisle, or someone that saw me at my job and had a question, or even the cashier at the checkout. It seemed like my 20-minute trips just turned into hour-long trips because I would run into people that wanted to talk. It became this whole unexpected social event. And to be honest, at first it made me so mad. I would get so frustrated. I'm like, people, seriously, I got 20 minutes. I got to get in and I got to get out. But they were like, hey, how's this going? Oh, I saw you doing this at your job. Oh, did you hear there's a sale on the cereal? Like everything became a conversation and it was interrupting my efficiency because at the time I didn't honestly really see any value to it. To me, it felt like it was pulling me away from my goal. And half these people I'm probably not going to see that often or maybe ever again. So why am I having these little silly conversations? They don't really feel like they're bringing any value to my life. Probably sounds a little bit harsh, but that's just how I felt at the time. I was a woman on a mission. I had goals, I had places to be, and I did not have time for small talk, especially when it seemed kind of pointless. Like, we're not here building a friendship. Like, why do I need to talk to you about your favorite cereal? It just seems silly. And it started to really stress me out. Like I felt like I couldn't even anticipate anymore what was going to happen. And like I said, I'd have to allot like an hour to do something that really should only take 20 minutes. And I will say a lot of my adult years, I lived that way. That energy of just don't interrupt my plans. I'm on a mission. Do not interrupt my plans until I started to notice something. And that was when I really slowed down enough and started really doing the work on my brain. I started to recognize that when things started to deviate from my plan, that's when really cool things were happening for me. There were these magical moments that happened out of nowhere that there's no way I could have planned for it, but it turned out really cool. Sometimes in those conversations I would have with people, I would find out information that actually totally changed my path. Or sometimes in those changes to my plans, it actually opened the door for so much fun, just silly, goofy, fun experiences. And when I look back, I was able to say, oh my word, that was actually a lot of fun. That was exciting. How crazy that is that that just happened and totally changed the trajectory of my life. Like, that is the craziness of that all. Like, I could come up with a perfect plan for every day and how it's going to flow and how many things I'm going to get ticked off my list. But in fact, it's that like 10-minute exchange with someone that I just passed in the hallway that actually changed the course of my career. It absolutely started to blow my mind. And when I started to reflect on that, I decided that I needed to really just stop seeing those moments as irritating. They weren't irritating to me anymore. I realized I needed to actually train my brain to understand that. Like when I was really reflecting, I could understand it, but I needed my brain's first reflex to become an embracing of those experiences instead of what typically happened, which was like I would almost like bear down just to like hit a bump in the road and then try to keep on my same path instead of letting it kind of bump me to where I needed to be. Because so many of these quote unquote interruptions end up being really good, really fulfilling, really magical. So I decided when something random interrupts my plans, I'm going to respond with something in my brain that I'm just going to plan for in advance. Like, what is going to be my cued response whenever something unexpected happens? No matter how irritating my first inclination is, I want to have a planned response for how I want to interact with that experience. And for me, that was coming up with a phrase. Now, your phrase could be much different if you choose to try this out. But for me, the phrase that I wanted to use every time something unexpected happened was, oh man, that's exciting. And sometimes when I use it, people are like, that does not fit the setting. I don't care. I am training my brain to respond differently and it's working for me. So basically, here's what happens. I could be just going through my day, maybe something unexpected happens. Someone could ding my car, someone could cut me off in line, at the grocery store. It could be anything. And my first brain's response is being trained to be, oh man, that's exciting. I want to learn to embrace it for what it is, unexpected and exciting. And for me, excitement is a positive emotion and it leads to new things. So that's why I really wanted to use that word. And oh man, that's exciting is something that I would say in a good scenario. So I just decided that whenever it's unexpected, that's the phrase we're going with. Now, again, anyone can come up with their own phrase, whatever it is for you. Maybe for you is, oh, this is magical, or let's see how this turns out. You want it to have a positive association for you, but coming up with a phrase that you can train your brain to think of every time something throws off your game starts to give your brain the new neural pathway that, oh, something really cool could happen in the unexpected, as opposed to, oh, look, this just deviated from my perfect plan. And how frustrating is that? Because that used to be the narrative in my brain. So, if you're like me, if you're a type A person and you're constantly thinking to yourself, I have the best plan, I just need to keep pushing through with my plan, and you're missing out on some of the magic, try and come up with a planned response for yourself that every time you encounter something unexpected, you are going to say in your own brain X, Y, and Z. So, for me, it's, oh, this is exciting because I know it's opening the door for something that I don't even know what's on the other side of it. And that is something that I want to feel excited about because truly there are so many things that happen in life that I've now seen that really changed the course of my life or added so much joy to my life that I would have missed if I was just bearing down and trying to get through that unexpected moment just to get back on my own path towards my goal. So find your phrase, whatever works for you. And maybe you're not the actual type A person, but you've got a friend or family member that is very type A and you think this might help them. Send them a loving message and send the podcast their way. Hopefully, they'll be in the right energy to receive it because I really just think it's such a gift to be able to change how our brains operate so that we can just enjoy our brain space more. It's not honestly really fun to be a type A person that's constantly like just white knuckling everything, trying to make sure that only their plan occurs in the world. It is fun to learn to go with the flow and be okay with plans changing and things going a different direction and unexpected encounters and unexpected long conversations in the middle of the cereal aisle. That truly is where so much fun and enjoyment happens. So, hopefully, this episode today helped you. And like I said, if you know someone that can benefit from it, send the podcast their way. All right, have a great one. I hope you found something helpful here today on the Love Your Brain podcast. Maybe a laugh or a feeling of validation, or maybe just a few moments to have company while you do your laundry. Whatever you take from it, I hope you enjoyed your time and leave feeling empowered to be more you every day. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on the next episode, and leave a review. I'd love to hear what you think. Have a great one.